Joining us in the studios now, Representative Jill Ford. She represents District 73 down there at the House. That's Madison County. It's just Madison County, right?
Madison.
Happens to be my representative, along with Patton Ford, the owner of Ford Plumbing and Gas. Thank you guys so much for joining us here on Middays today. So the big news we want you to talk about is that Ford Plumbing and Gas recently featured, correct, Patton, in American Plumber Stories.
That's correct, Gerard. We a few weeks ago had Spencer Brown, who was a Madison County resident, who has started this this YouTube channel where he films plumbing companies and plumbers around the country. He came by our shop and interviewed us and kind of learned more about what we do and our story, and it was a privilege to have him around and get to meet him.
I looked at it, and it's awesome. It's like a docu-series, I think is how they describe it.
That's right.
And it's awesome because it features, it chronicles, it really does talk about those that are involved specifically in the plumbing industry.
That's correct, yeah.
And kind of trails them around, and it gives you a first-hand look at what that's all about. Yeah,
it's you know, watching all the different stories, it's been pretty cool because you see where we do things different than other guys around the country. You kind of can see some of the things that we share and what we have in common, and it's just encouraging and to know that people like Spencer are out there kind of documenting this so that other people can really understand what we do on a day-to-day basis.
Jill, I know first you got to be proud of Patton and his brother for their work in the industry, and they're going into this profession and being, most importantly, very successful at it, and serving the community. Have done some work for me, don't mind saying, and appreciate that. Did you envision that when they were youngsters and
pride? I have pride now, Gerard, but I had to eat my pride, to be perfectly honest. Patton and Crockett both started at St. Andrews. Patton graduated from St. Andrews and went to Ole Miss for 4 years, got an English degree, and was going to law school, and decided to go to Haiti while he was waiting for law school. And during his time in missions in Haiti, he came upon a couple from Jackson, Mississippi, Mike and Jan Kinney, that basically gave 2 weeks of their life and their skill to Haiti and helped plumb the Hope House. And it was ordained for him to be there during that time. And Jan and Mike really changed the trajectory of Patton's life and also Crockett's life. They both had the opportunity to be their apprentices. Yes, apprenticed them. Yeah. And then Patton went on to instead of going to law school, he came back to Jackson and went to Hines Community College at night. And so he's a very highly educated plumber. He is 20 years of education under his belt. But Crockett did the same thing. He came home from Mississippi State and went to Hines also at night. And they both, like I said, apprenticed with the Kinneys. And now Patton is a master plumber and has had his company for about 5 or so years.
Yeah, that's right.
And has now 5 employees and 4 trucks and owns a building and just killing it. So
it's the best logo for a plumbing company, right? Yeah. Use of the F turned there into a faucet.
That's
right. Pretty cool. Yeah. So, Patton, when about or anything in particular, I guess, at some particular point in time that said, I think that's what I want to do?
Yeah, I was talking to Mom about this on the way over here just because we were wanting to make sure we were on the same page about everything.
Sure.
But truthfully, Gerard, I think one problem that a lot of people or one mistake I guess a lot of people make when they're choosing a career path or a vocation is that it's very internally focused. Like, what am I good at? What would I be happy doing? What could I see myself doing it for my career? And that's important. That you need to evaluate that. But what's just as important is what does your community need? What does the world around you need?
Yeah.
Because you could learn how to do something really well that you would like doing for a career, but if there's not a need for it, then unfortunately, you're not going to do it because you're not going to have a place to play that out. So plumbing was one thing that I really, after those discussions with Mike and Jan Kinney that my mom was made reference to, we just had some conversations, and it really became clear that the path I was going down wouldn't have necessarily been dead end, but there was not as much of a dire need for more attorneys coming out of law school at that point in time. And I don't know what it's like now, but there was very much and still is a dire need for more people getting into the trades, but especially plumbing. Yeah. I don't mean to get off on a tangent, but when I was at Hines in the night program, there was an electrical program, a welding program, and a plumbing program. We had 4 guys in our plumbing program. It actually doesn't even, I think, exist anymore, but they had 3 welding, 24 hours a day had welding shop classes. Overnight from 11 p.m. to 6 a.m. And they were full. They were cranking those guys out. Pretty much the same with electrical. But, the plumbing is, there's a very, very impending doom that's going to happen in the next few years because there's just not going to be anybody who's trained to do the trade. So yeah, it's very much was and still is a need that our community and our state has.
Jill, I know on social media you've talked about some important statistical data with respect to folks in Mississippi that go to college, drop out, don't finish. And just the opportunities there are for people that maybe decide college isn't the thing for me.
Right. 71% of Mississippi high school graduates go to college, but only 31% of them actually graduate from college within 6 years. So what's happening to that 40% that are finding themselves home from college without a degree, and then also the 29% that never went to college? They're floundering for their future, and I worry muchly about that. I get calls from mamas all the time asking about a trade. And, Gerard, when I was running for representative, that was one of the main focuses that I had was workforce development. We had to do something at the State House to encourage this generation to look beyond themselves and look to their communities and their need. And so as a mother of 2 plumbers, I am making it my mission to normalize the idea of sending our kids to trade school without making them feel like it's an inferior career choice. It's I want to almost hashtag this, not so much dirty jobs as worthy jobs, because these jobs have had a stigma upon them, and that's what, as this mama having to eat her pride, thinking, telling my friends, oh, my son's going to be an attorney, and he comes back from Haiti and says, oh, mama, sit down, I've got something to tell you. I thought he was going on the mission field, and he tells me he's going to be a plumber. And, of course, I had to put my pride aside. Patton is probably laughing because he remembers that conversation. I'll be honest, the first thing I said was, do you know how much money I've spent on your education? That's what I said. And now I would not take anything for the education that he has, because he is a fantastic business mind. But I'll be honest with you, Gerard, you don't even have to have a huge You need soft skills as much as anything. Yes. I see mamas in the grocery store now and say, oh, your sons came to my house and they did a fantastic job. They were on time. They were dressed professionally, and they cleaned up after themselves. Those are soft skills. You should learn that at home. Yes. But that's what people are most impressed with.
Absolutely.
And that's what we've got to start teaching our children, to show up at your employment on time. That's important.
It's a differentiator. Mm-hmm. Patton, how did American Plumbing Stories find you?
I think Spencer's a local guy. I think we saw something in the Northside Sun or one of the local newspapers about him. I didn't even know about him until I saw that newspaper article, so I'm glad they did that. But I think we reached out to him and we talked to him a little bit, and then he I guess at some point he decided to come and hang out with us and film us.
Well, your story is inspiring. Congratulations on all your success. I can say as a happy customer, it was a small amount of work, but you treated it like it was a big job, and I appreciate that. And your mother described it accurately. The soft skills came through there.
Absolutely.
And Jill, thanks for your efforts and, as you describe it, normalizing and removing the stigmatisms, which they shouldn't be there. But appreciate you guys coming on Middays today.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Gerard. Appreciate you.
You got it. Middays is going to take a break right here. We're in the Element Wealth Studios. We got more to talk about. Stay with us.